Welcome to my anime recap channel. In this video, I will be recapping the anime series Spy X Family Season 2. After eliminating an armed militant group, Yu engages in a phone conversation with her employer to confirm the completion of her mission. Her next plan is to purchase milk and eggs for Lloyd before heading home. Unbeknownst to her, one of her targets, though gravely injured, manages to aim a gun at her and fires a shot. Meanwhile, back at home, Lloyd, Anya, and Bond watch a news report on TV detailing the demise of members belonging to the Red Circus, a radical terrorist organization. Anya, uninterested in the news, requests to switch to watching cartoons. Initially, Lloyd hesitates, but he gives in to Anya's requests as she tears up and happily changes the channel to Spy Wars. Upon Yu's return with groceries, Lloyd greets her, but he becomes concerned upon seeing her irritated expression. Unbeknownst to him, Yu conceals the fact that she's been shot in the buttocks, which explains her grimace of pain, leaving Anya in shock. He retires to bed, while Lloyd mistakenly believes she's upset about running errands, determined to make amends and hoping she'll feel better in the morning. As morning breaks, Yu's condition hasn't improved. In fact, her expression seems even more troubled. Determined to brighten her day, Lloyd extends an invitation for a date. This idea springs from a conversation he had with his colleagues about the importance of dating. Surprisingly, Yu agrees to the outing, aiming to practice the role of a married woman. Anya, eager to join, faces a disheartening rejection from Lloyd, who believes their date should be an intimate affair. He arranges for Frankie to take care of Anya and Bond during their absence, compensating him for the assistance. Eager to create the perfect date for Yu, Lloyd goes to great lengths. He even arranges a chauffeur and brainstorms 862 date ideas, from helicopter rides to wine tastings. However, Yu's persistent pain limits her choices, and she opts for walking rather than sitting in a car, eliminating 794 of Lloyd's ideas. He starts to worry that she's still upset with him. As they stroll away, Anya becomes concerned about their outing. Recalling a scene from her cartoon, she suggests to Frankie that they discreetly follow Lloyd and Yu on their date. Frankie enthusiastically agrees, eager to witness Lloyd's seductive skills. Together, they don disguises while Bond remains at home with Anya's toys. Despite their best efforts to remain unnoticed, Lloyd spots them within seconds but chooses to feign ignorance to prioritize his mood. He takes her to a department store and suggests a pair of snug pants for her, which she declines as it would aggravate her injury. Lloyd continues to escort Yu to various date spots, such as the cinema, the club, the pond, the spa, and the zoo, but he's disheartened by her apparent disinterest. Conversely, Yu struggles to focus on the date due to the pain, while Lloyd is distressed by his inability to uplift her spirits. Frankie chuckles at Lloyd's less-than-stellar date, and starts some playful banter with Anya as Lloyd and Yu step into an upscale restaurant. Frankie and Anya attempt to follow them into the restaurant but are swiftly turned away due to their casual attire and Anya's age. Just as they're about to head home, Anya's telepathic powers detect someone recognizing his alter ego, the Thorn Princess. It turns out, a waiter working inside the restaurant is the sole survivor from the Red Circus group, the same group he had taken down earlier. Fueled by a desire for vengeance, he decides to settle the score. While Anya knows Yu is more than capable of handling herself, she's concerned about the potential exposure of his true identity, which could fracture their family. At Anya's urging, Frankie and Anya decide to go undercover in their spy disguises and infiltrate the restaurant. In the restaurant, Lloyd and Yu place their orders, with Lloyd complimenting the establishment for its rare blowfish delicacies. Unbeknownst to them, a former member of the Red Circus secretly extracts blowfish poison into a cocktail glass, intending to use it to eliminate Yu. Meanwhile, Anya, accompanied by Frankie, traverses through the restaurant's ventilation system, eavesdropping on the assassin's sinister plot and urging Frankie to hasten. However, Anya arrives too late, just as the poisonous martini is served to Ye. Ye consumes the toxic cocktail, but to everyone's surprise, she possesses a remarkable resistance to poison, and the blowfish venom merely numbs her injury. Ye's unexpected resilience fills her with joy, leaving both Lloyd and the Red Circus member bewildered. Despite his failure, the ex-Red Circus member decides to improvise a bomb using ingredients from the storeroom. Anya, still in the vent, notices the room nearby and disappears from Frankie's sight. As the ex-Red Circus member recites the steps to create the improvised bomb, he slips on a large puddle of olive oil in the hallway, crashing into a shelf. As he enters the storeroom, a bucket of objects falls on his head. He notices a container that would be suitable, but soon realizes that the swelling container is a bomb. The makeshift bomb explodes on him, revealing that it was just made non-lethally with peanuts. Anya appears before him, threatening him not to approach you ever again and to make his girlfriend, Catherine, happy. The former Red Circus member faints at the shock of an apparent child underling of the Thorn Princess knowing his personal details, but not before deciding to live a normal life. Ye, no longer in pain, talks cheerfully to Lloyd about the restaurant's food, and Lloyd is relieved that she has finally cheered. Frankie and Anya hide behind a bush as they watch Lloyd and Ye, with Anya proud of herself for helping out and Frankie wondering where she went earlier. As Lloyd and Ye look out at the city's night scenery, Ye thanks Lloyd for taking her out on a date, and hopes they will be able to do this again, when she is not injured. Ye notices a carnival, and Lloyd proposes they visit it. Anya excitedly insists on tagging along, wanting to ride the Ferris wheel. The next day, the numbing poison wears off and Ye is once again in pain, to Lloyd's confusion. While lounging on the couch, Bond experiences a vision, surrounded by an ominous, pitch-black void. Puzzled by its meaning, he entertains the idea that a scientist from Project Apple might be on the way to eliminate him. Bond, while fretting, gazes upon family photos and envisions his loved ones mourning his loss, imagining he perished content. He embraces his perceived destiny and proceeds to Anya's room, seeking to bid her farewell. However, she's preoccupied with homework and swiftly closes the door on him. Bond, disheartened, then makes his way to Ye, who expresses remorse for forgetting to restock dog food. Since Lloyd is currently away on work, Ye takes it upon herself to prepare Bond's dinner. Revisiting his enigmatic vision, Bond arrives at the unsettling belief that Ye's cooking might be his demise. A sense of dread washes over him, but he reasons that he can simply decline the meal. Yet, a memory surfaces Anya's stern warning that an upset Ye could be deadly. Bond envisions Ye's wrath should he refuse her dish. Fueled by defiance, he embarks on a frenzied escapade throughout the house. Then, a solution emerges. Lloyd's early return could save him from this grim fate by preparing his dinner. Determined, the family dog unlocks the door and makes a hasty escape, leaving Ye baffled. Bond races through Berlin's streets, following Lloyd's scent. Eventually, he finds Lloyd outside the big Bourne Industries building. Lloyd's job right now is to sneak in and grab a sample of Gerolimus, a new truth serum made by that company. But he's in a hurry and can't get the usual information he needs for a disguise. So, his only choice is to sneak in directly. Lloyd gets a big surprise when Bond shows up and tells him to go back home. But Bond won't listen and tries to explain his situation to Lloyd. Lloyd's confused about how Bond knows all this. Then he remembers that Bourne Industries might be connected to Project Apple, which makes him think Bond is out for revenge against the scientists who tested on him and his friends. With that in mind, Lloyd lets Bond join him on their missions. The two sneak into the facility and head to the lab, which has many lockers with stuff inside. One of these lockers holds the serum thereafter. While Lloyd searches for it, Bond has another vision. He sees the lab workers coming back, so Lloyd stays behind to stop them, and tells Bond to go home. Bond gets worried and tells Lloyd to hide. Before hiding, he leaves a note saying the gerolimus serum is gone. This tricks the workers into opening the locker with the serum. Lloyd and Bond, who's wearing a mask, drop down on the workers and knock them out. Lloyd thanks Bond, takes the gerolimus serum, and says he can go home early. This makes Bond envision Lloyd cooking dinner, and being happy for his safety. He barks for joy. As the morning sun rises, an alarm in an Eden Academy dorm starts beeping, stirring its residents from their slumber. Two of Damien Desmond's dorm mates, Emil Ellman and Ewan Egeberg, urge him to wake up as well, reminding him not to miss the morning muster. When the muster concludes, Henry Henderson observes Damien, who appears fatigued with noticeable dark circles under his eyes. As a consequence for oversleeping, Damien is assigned the task of assisting the dorm mother with chores, and he's not allowed to leave the school premises until he completes his duties. Ewan and Emil peek from around the corner, clearly concerned about Damien's predicament. While Damien is assisting the dorm mother, his pals come by to check on him. Damien, who pulled an all-nighter studying, is eager to earn more Stella stars. Ewan, however, expresses concern that he's overexerting himself. They mention that the dorm tutor plans to take everyone to the movies and grab roast beef on the way back. Damien remains determined to decline the offer, preferring to study and hoping to earn praise from his father by improving himself. After the dorm mother shoos them away, Ewan and Emil intentionally linger in the halls with a disheveled appearance. Henderson notices their antics and decides to discipline them as well, a punishment they surprisingly accept with enthusiasm. Damien gets a surprise when his pals decide to assist him with his chores, expressing their desire to go to the movies together. Although Damien initially insists they go on without him, they remain committed to aiding him in the tasks. Ewan even suggests they pretend to be Imperial scholars, wrapping themselves in sheets like cloaks. While they have some fun, Henderson observes from inside, reflecting on the beauty of youthful friendship. Damien, lost in thought, gazes at the sky. The school custodian, Mr. Green, playfully teases Damien about having the look of someone longing for a picnic, which Damien hastily denies. Henderson, in response to their playfulness during chores, decides to assign them a new task, a field research trip with Mr. Green. Mr. Green leads the boys on an exciting canoe ride, with plans to reach a lake for a picnic. Damien notices what seems like a waterfall approaching and accidentally tumbles off the canoe. When he calls for help, Ewan and Emil dive in after him, only to find themselves in the same situation. They decide to let Damien fulfill his dreams, and touched by this, Damien is moved. Green steps in, revealing that the water is actually quite shallow, leaving the boys red-faced. Later, they start a campfire on the shore, and Green suggests they catch some fish for dinner. With Green's guidance, the friends get ready to fish. They search for bait and discover earthworms under a rock, which startle Damien. After some playful teasing from Ewan and Emil with the worms, they start fishing and successfully catch fish for their meal. While savoring their hard-earned dinner, Green advises Damien that it's alright to have fun from time to time. After the meal, he takes the boys to Stella Lake, which fills Damien with anticipation. Upon arriving at their destination, the boys find themselves in awe of Stella Lake. The stars reflect on the lake's surface, appearing within grasp, which is why it's called Stella Lake. Damien is surprised that there are no actual stars, but he acknowledges that the trip was far from a waste. They lay down on the ground, gazing at the stars. While they're enjoying this breathtaking sight, Emil remarks that the stars resemble sugar sprinkled across the sky. Damien bursts into laughter, and the other boys join in. Green then suggests it's time to head back, reminding them to write a detailed field report. Upon returning to the dorm, Green hands their reports to Henderson. Henderson expresses his gratitude to Green and asks if he allowed the boys to have some fun, which Green confirms. While going through the reports, Henderson notes that Damien's report needs more detail, pointing out its brevity. After monitoring an illegal deal, Yuri and his captain successfully catch and arrest everyone involved, not letting a single person escape. Not long afterward, Yuri receives a new assignment: investigate Franklin Perkin, a former newspaper reporter now writing articles slandering Ostania that are being released in Westalis, and stop his work from influencing public opinion. Despite voluntarily overworking himself, Yuri happily accepts. Yuri surveys Franklin without leaving behind any details of his life in his reports. The lieutenant is impressed but tries to persuade Yuri to let someone take over as he has pulled 2 all-nighters in a row. After making Yuri visibly twitch in response to words that sound similar to "ya," he tells Yuri to rest. Yuri hears Franklin leaving his home, so he and the lieutenant shadow him. They observe Franklin looking for things to write about. Franklin interrupts a group of children playing, throwing a child's toy pistol in the trash and taking pictures of them digging it out. When the children confront Franklin, he intimidates them, which angers Yuri. While surveilling Franklin writing his latest article, Yuri hears a conversation between the man and his father, in which Franklin expresses frustration in wanting to make the country a better place for them to live in and needing money just to get by. Franklin's statement gets to Yuri, who briefly writes his inner thoughts aloud that Franklin is motivated by concern for his family before ripping out the report and crumpling it. Yuri realizes that Franklin contacts his publishers at his workplace, the post office, by slipping his manuscripts into the mail. Although Franklin appears hesitant to send it, he goes through with it, sealing his fate. 4 days later, Yuri and other SSS agents arrive outside Franklin's home, waiting to arrest the man. Franklin accepts his situation and heads outside to meet with the officers. Franklin expresses appreciation for them waiting outside, and Yuri tells him there was no reason for his family to witness his arrest while he places handcuffs on him. Franklin then asks him which of the two is truly pathetic, the one fighting against tyranny, or the one serving as its lapdog. Yuri responds that he would never do anything to cause his sister pain. As Franklin gets escorted away, Yuri says he will apply for his father to receive financial assistance, and Franklin thanks him. At headquarters, Yuri's boss pats him on the back, saying he is proud of him. When asked about how he is doing in his new job, Yuri states that this is the job for him and declares to one day catch Twilight. Later, Yuri drops by the forger's home with Lloyd, and Anya at home. When he asks if something is wrong, Yuri says he simply wants to see her face. Anya reads Yuri's mind and pats him. Also pats Yuri on the head and praises him, deciding to make some tea for everyone. Yuri is overjoyed and happily shouts for Ya, embarrassing her and giving Anya heartburn. In the latest episode of Spy Wars, Bondman is on a mission with his partner Agent M, who proclaims her love for him as they make their getaway. Later, Bondman and M encounter an enemy spy, who threatens to kill him. Bondman resolves this by ending the conflict between their countries, allowing him and the woman to be together. From the daughter of a nuclear scientist, a terrorist's girlfriend, head of an evil organization, and even his landlord, Bondman continues picking up more and more love interests. Eventually, all the women become angry and demand that Bondman choose one of them, but Bondman refuses. As a result, he is brutally beaten by the women who all leave him, and he muses that as a spy, danger comes with the territory. Anya, watching this episode, comments that this must be one of those lovey-dovey shows that she can talk about with Becky. Lloyd tells her to stop, confused and disgusted with Bondman's womanizing behavior. At the rooftop of the department store, Anya sees large electric plush animals to ride on, and tells Lloyd she wants to ride the panda one. Lloyd, in his endless thoughts, thinks about how pointless they are, but when Anya starts crying, and at Ya's suggestion, Lloyd lets her ride the animal. When Anya says she wants to ride it again, Lloyd thinks about how he cannot understand children. Later, Anya sees people at the ocean on TV and says she wants to go there. Lloyd compromises by taking her to the pool. While Anya is initially having fun, She hears the thoughts of other kids peeing in the pool, to her shock and disgust. At home, Anya says she never wants to go to the pool again, and Lloyd is once again confused. At Cecile Hall's boys' dormitory, Ewan and Emil wake up for morning muster. Remembering last time, they go to wake up Damien as well, but Damien is already awake, having woken up an hour ago to study. He says that last time was a fluke, which impresses his friends. At the Forger home, Lloyd desperately tries to wake Anya up so she will not miss the bus and be tardy, worried that she will get a tinnitus bolt for too many tardies. However, Anya is too asleep to get up, and she ends up being tardy. Recap of the anime series Spy X Family Season 2 then reveals that the pastry of knowledge is one of the 7 wonders of Eden Academy. It is said that a mysterious pâtissier appears randomly in the cafeteria and offers exquisitely delicious desserts. Since many who have eaten the pastry have become imperial scholars, rumors swirl that the pastry instantly makes one smarter. Anya and Becky eavesdrop on other students gossiping about the pastries of knowledge, made by a former royal chef visiting Dining Hall 2 today. The student adds that eating one ensures becoming an imperial scholar, which piques Anya and Becky's interest, and they sprint to the dining hall. Anya envisions the possibility of becoming a genius if she eats one, while Becky salivates at the thought of trying macarons from a former royal chef. They find a queue of students lined up for the pastries, but Damien and his friends cut in line with the same goal. The server then announces that only one order of the special Pierre Pommier macaron set remains. The two groups try to claim the last set, but are stunned to discover that George Glumman has already ordered it. Damien and Becky rush up to George and demand that he give them the macarons. When George tries to protest, they remind him that he owes them. George reluctantly agrees to give up 4 macarons out of the 5-piece set. The other kids realize there are 5 of them and decide to play a round of Old Maid to determine who gets the macarons. Anya, unfamiliar with the rules of the game, wins using her mind-reading abilities. Damien and his friends are incredulous and accuse her of cheating. When Damien suspects that she can read minds, Anya panics and suggests another round, where she intentionally makes mistakes and loses. Anya's easily readable facial expressions make it impossible for her to get rid of the Joker card in Old Maid. Everyone else discards their cards, leaving only Anya and Damien. Anya panics, fearing that she will not receive a macaron, fail her tests, and be separated from Becky in class. As Damien reaches for a card, he notices Anya in tears and draws the Old Maid, losing the game. After receiving her macaron, Anya offers to share half with Damien, but he angrily refuses, embarrassed by his loss. Emil, Ewan, Becky, and Anya devour their macarons, and Anya's fiery determination to succeed in her studies is ignited by the pastry. She studies with unwavering vigor until the next day's quizzes. When the results are released, Henry reveals that Anya's quiz scores are as dismal as ever, leaving Anya and the others in disbelief. Becky attempts to console the dejected Anya, encouraging her to make amends on her finals. At home, Lloyd and Yor peruse Anya's quiz papers while she sulks in her room. Lloyd observes that she would have performed well on her classical language test if she had not made so many spelling mistakes. He ponders how Anya achieved such a good score, considering their limited classical language studies in class and the possibility that her upbringing gave her prior knowledge of the subject. Lloyd resolves to let it go and informs Anya that he has prepared her favorite Hamburg steak for dinner, which lifts her spirits. Yor chimes in that she attempted to make dessert, but Bon barks in disgust. At Frankie's tobacco store, Frankie hands Lloyd a fake ID for Department 2 of Doust Industries and the engine test results for a new fighter jet they are developing. Lloyd expresses his gratitude to Frankie for the documents, who reminds him that he is charging him for them. Lloyd inquires about the photographs he requested of the members of an association. Frankie informs him that his contact specialized in that intelligence has been eliminated, and it will take a little longer. Lloyd is shocked and asks if the SSS got him. Frankie describes the rumor that Garden, a mysterious organization, eliminated him. Lloyd is aware of Garden but believed that half the stories about them were urban legends. Frankie clarifies that Garden is real and assassinates traitors under orders from the shadow government. Lloyd is not surprised by the existence of an unofficial paramilitary organization. Frankie informs him that one of Garden's soldiers is rumored to be capable of wiping out an entire military troop, but Lloyd dismisses him and leaves, instructing him to obtain the photographs. Frankie detains Lloyd and asks him for assistance with a task. He holds up a missing cat poster for Kopi, a male Nordblock cat. Lloyd, confused, inquires about the poster. Frankie explains that the cat belongs to Casey, a server at his favorite cafe. Kopi vanished last week, leaving Casey devastated. Frankie implores Lloyd to aid in the cat's recovery, promising to restore Casey's smile and facilitate their relationship. Despite Frankie's threats to withhold intelligence and attempt to sell him a gun disguised as a toothbrush, Lloyd departs. Frankie resolves to find the cat himself. Frankie uses a payphone to contact other informants for assistance in locating the cat. Eventually, he receives a report of a cat matching the description on Ritter Street near City Hall. As Frankie nears the location outside City Hall, he encounters Yor, who is stepping out for a lunch break. Yor inquires if Frankie also works in the area, and Frankie explains that he is searching for a lost cat. Upon hearing the situation, Yor offers to assist Frankie in his search. Frankie has installed C20 feline form listening devices at various locations where cats congregate, equipped with sensors to detect the sound of Kopi's bell collar. Yor is amazed by Frankie's invention. However, he realizes that the cats have destroyed the listening devices, rendering them useless. Frankie prepares to deploy his next invention, the cat nearness inducement prototype decoy system, which is designed to release the scent of catnip to lure Kopi to them. Yor praises Frankie's skill in constructing gadgets. Frankie explains that he has always dreamed of using his inventions to make the world a better place and to become wealthy through patents. Soon, a large horde of cats arrives, drawn by the aroma of catnip. Frankie manages to spot Kopi among the throng of cats. Meanwhile, Yor is distracted by several cats clinging to her. Frankie, determined to catch Kopi, attempts to use his hyper-long hand to grab him, but Kopi is too quick and evades capture. Frankie then resorts to his camera-shaped net launcher, but he is unable to get close enough to Kopi to use it effectively. Kopi continues to flee, and Frankie is forced to chase after him. Meanwhile, Yor has managed to free herself from the cats that had clung to her. She witnesses Frankie chasing Kopi and decides to help. Frankie dons his exoskeleton power suit, which grants him superhuman strength and speed. However, the suit's motor requires 15 minutes to warm up, so Frankie is unable to immediately pursue Kopi. Kopi continues to run towards a busy road, oblivious to the danger. Behind Frankie, Yor asks to borrow his exoskeleton power suit. She easily tears off the back part of the suit and hurls it in front of Kopi, halting him in his tracks. Yor then leaps at Kopi and catches him safely in her arms. Yor waves happily at Frankie, indicating that she has caught Kopi. Frankie thanks her, but is stunned to see that the exoskeleton suit he spent 10 years building has been destroyed. He consoles himself with the thought that it was a small price to pay to win Casey's heart. He returns Kopi to Casey, who cries in relief, but Frankie is dismayed to learn that Casey is already seeing someone. Frankie wishes the couple all the best and leaves, crying as he resolves to live for his work. Meanwhile, Yor is working cheerfully at City Hall, feeling good after helping Frankie. Camilla comments on Yor's high spirits, and Millie asks if Lloyd has bought her something nice. Yor denies it, and Camilla and Millie are annoyed that she is having a good time. Sharon sarcastically suggests that Yor is happy because she has become normal, which excites Yor. A man in a suit enters and informs Yor that she has a phone call from her special contact. Yor picks up the phone, and the caller addresses her as Thorn Princess, and informs her that she has a new client. Yor and her colleague arrive at the shopkeeper's garden. While she takes a moment to inhale the fragrance of the flowers, the shopkeeper tests her instincts with a surprise attack. Yor successfully dodges it, and he apologizes for his suddenness, but praises her reflexes. He then briefs her on her latest assignment, to protect the surviving members of the Gretcher family, Alka Gretcher and her son, aboard the cruise ship Princess Lorelei. The shopkeeper explains that she must defend them from a group of assassins as they cross the border. Yor hesitates at first, concerned about her cover at work and home. However, Garden has already prepared a cover story that she is there on business. With her mind at ease, the Thorn Princess accepts the mission. On her way home, Yor contemplates how to motivate herself. She runs into Yuri on the subway, and they chat. Yor asks him if he is taking care of himself, and he assures her that he is not a child anymore and can be relied upon. After they part ways, Yor reflects on how grown-up Yuri has become and wonders why she continues her assassin work. Meanwhile, the mall hosts its biannual mega raffle, with the grand prize being a pair of tickets for a voyage on a cruise ship. Upon seeing this, Anya asks Lloyd for the raffle ticket they have earned to try her luck. As she queues for the raffle, Anya discovers through her telepathy that the event organizer has rigged it by sticking the winning ticket to the top of the raffle box. With this information in mind, Anya easily retrieves the winning ticket. At home, Anya happily shows Yor the tickets she won. Lloyd suggests that Yor go with Anya because he has work, but after glancing at the tickets, Yor reveals that she is already going on the same boat as part of her work trip. Worried about missing out on the trip, Anya starts screaming about wanting to go. Reluctant, Lloyd agrees to ask if he can get time off his work. To his surprise, Sylvia accepts his request and makes arrangements so he can get time off from the Berlin General Hospital as well. The big day arrives, and as the forgers make their way to the port, Anya is ecstatic, while Yor feels that she would enjoy this trip if she did not accept her assignment. However, she contemplates making this the Thorn Princess' final job. At the port, before meeting her colleagues, Yor bids farewell to her family, promising to contact them when she can. As all the passengers board the ship, so too do suspicious figures. Aboard Princess Lorelei, Anya excitedly explores the various facilities on the ship, including the pool, circus, and game room. She is eager to embark on an adventure, but is disappointed upon seeing that their third-class suite is small and cramped, assuming that it's one of the ship's jail cells. However, she quickly recovers and is excited as she's never slept on a bunk bed before. Lloyd comments that Yor's group is likely in first class since she is with the dignitaries. Inside the first-class suite, Yor's colleague, Matthew McMahon, introduces himself to a man, a woman, and a child. The man and woman introduce themselves as Furcio Gray and his wife, Shaddy. Yor realizes that Shaddy must be Alka Gretcher, the woman she is tasked with protecting. Alka's appearance is different from the photo Yor has, presumably because she is traveling incognito. Furcio observes Yor's slender figure and wonders if she is capable of protecting Alka. Matthew assures him that Yor is a skilled bodyguard. After the group is offered a tour of the ship, Alka declines, saying that she needs to care for her baby. As the group leaves, Furcio expresses concern about leaving Alka and Yor alone, but Matthew assures him that Yor is strong and capable. Once alone with Alka, Yor inspects the suite for possible entry and escape routes. She then talks with Alka, who reveals that Furcio is actually a member of her crew who is playing a part. Alka expresses her desire to live a quiet life with her son, but she knows that she is in danger. She asks Yor to take her outside for a short moment. Yor is hesitant at first, but she eventually agrees, trusting Alka's judgment. As they prepare to leave, Yor nervously glances outside the door. Alka notices her hesitation and asks what is wrong. Yor reveals that her family is also aboard the ship. In the ship's atrium, Anya enthusiastically tells Lloyd that they must explore the ship before it sinks, embarrassing her father. Lloyd observes his surroundings with a keen eye, noting the ship's vulnerability to terrorism and reminding himself to stay vigilant. When Anya notices that he is not having fun, Lloyd recalls Sylvia's advice to treat the trip like any other mission. He decides to refocus his efforts on maximizing their enjoyment and suggests that they watch a show. Meanwhile, Yor explains to Alka that her family's presence on the ship is a coincidence, and that they are unaware of her real job. Alka asks if they are part of her cover identity, and Yor confirms it with a tender look on her face. Alka's son starts to cry, reminding them of their plan to go outside. As they prepare to leave, Alka stops Yor to lend her some clothes for a disguise. Once outside, Alka gazes wistfully at the horizon, contemplating the life she has left behind. As they head back inside, Yor promises to give it her all and protect Alka and her son to the end. Alka is moved by Yor's sincerity and reveals that her son's name is Graham, named after her father. She then offers to let Yor hold him. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation is captured by a listening bug that an informant uses to locate Alka's cabin room. In Berlin, Camilla, Millie, and Sharon chat about Yor's work trip on the cruise over beers and sausages. Millie envies Yor's fancy dinner, picturing herself in Yor's place, savoring every bite. Sharon and Camilla, on the other hand, are content with their simple meal and each other's company. On Princess Lorelei, Yor sits at a lavish dinner table with her City Hall colleagues and the Grey family. She fidgets nervously, unable to enjoy her meal. Fur Seal does the same. Matthew McMahon kicks Yor's chair and whispers to her to relax. He assures her that the enemy is too smart to attack in public and that her family is not allowed in the restaurant, so she must stay calm and sell their cover story. After dinner, the men head to the lower deck for drinks, while Yor takes Alka and Graham back to their room. Alka points out that there have been no signs of trouble all day, but Yor warns her that they must stay vigilant because they don't know where the enemy is or what their plan is. Yor predicts that the enemy will strike at the last possible minute, which is tomorrow. After Yor assures Alka that they will be safe, Alka asks what everyone else will do if they manage to escape safely. Yor explains their cover story. Alka then asks if Yor will see her family after completing her mission, as the ship will stop at a resort island on the third day. She suggests that Yor could use the opportunity to spend time with her family, but Yor is hesitant. On the lower deck, Lloyd and Anya have dinner at a buffet. Anya hungrily devours an array of food, having played all day. She then pauses and remarks on how strange it is to have dinner without Yor. Lloyd agrees and gets flustered when Anya calls him sappy. He then tells Anya to finish her food so they can return to their room. Nearby, Fur Seal, Matthew, and the other men stroll around after drinks at the bar. Matthew spots a man tailing them, so he tells the others that he forgot something at the bar and leaves. The man keeps following the group, and when he tries to hide in a corner, Matthew is waiting for him. The assassin lunges at Matthew, but Matthew restrains him and breaks his arm, covering his mouth to muffle the scream. Matthew interrogates the assassin, breaking his other arm and leg to learn that other assassins are working independently to see who can finish the job first. The assassin reveals that he got his intel from an informant who knows Alka's identity and cabin number. Matthew then kills the assassin and disposes of his body in the ocean. Matthew returns to the group and grabs Fur Seal to head to their cabin room. On the way, Matthew briefs Fur Seal on the situation and asks if Zeb contacted anyone, since their mission was planned in secrecy. Fur Seal replies that he called his parents earlier, but says he didn't say anything important. Matthew brushes it off to focus on their current predicament, as their enemies have no intention of waiting until the next day. At Alka's cabin, a knock echoes at the door. Yor peeks through the peephole and sighs with relief, thinking it's room service. Alka objects, saying she didn't order anything. Suddenly, a gun clicks at the door, and Yor quickly yanks Alka out of the way as a barrage of bullets whiz through the air. The knock man reloads his gun and tries to enter, but Matthew and Zeb arrive just in time, shooting darts into his hands. The knocked man turns his attention to the two men, but Yor hurls her stiletto through the door, pinning his head to the wall and killing him. Matthew retrieves the corpse and briefs the group on the situation, directing Yor to take them to a vacant room in the second-class suite, while he covers up their tracks. He warns her that the ship might return to port if there's a public incident, so she should avoid fighting as much as possible. After donning masks to disguise themselves, Yor, Alka, Zeb, and Graham head to the second-deck lounge. Elsewhere, the informant confirms to a group of assassins that Shaddy Gray is their target and that she and her guards have started moving rooms after contact with the knockman. One of the assassins takes charge, saying they should work together if their opposition is from Garden and that they'll split the bounty evenly. Another assassin finds the idea tedious and suggests killing every woman on board with a baby, but is promptly silenced by the leader, who says they're not psychopaths. After disposing of the body in the ocean, the assassin leader continues, instructing the others to avoid unwanted attention and confirming with the informant that all information will be shared. While walking through the halls, Furcio remarks that their masks make them look suspicious. Yor assures him that the second lounge is hosting a masquerade ball, where they will blend in. She also notices that they are being followed and informs the others. Yor devises a plan to lose their pursuer before revealing their destination, blend into the crowd at the lounge, and cause a disturbance. Upon arriving at the ball, Yor immediately senses the enemy's bloodlust in the crowd. She remembers that she cannot cause a scene and must get through the ball without killing anyone. Yor grabs a button from Furcio's suit and throws it at the neck of an assassin who is rising from his chair, knocking him unconscious. Another assassin approaches to kill Alka, but Yor grabs his hand and pretends to invite him to dance. She leads him away from Alka, crushes his hand, and knocks him out. Yor returns to the others, and they head to the second-class shopping promenade. At the promenade, Anya sees a skeleton keychain and wants it, but Lloyd refuses, saying it is not educationally valuable. While Anya throws a tantrum, Lloyd spots listening devices, undercover SSS agents, and suspicious groups across the ship. He concludes that they must be on their best behavior to avoid unwanted attention. Realizing that their conversation is likely being overheard, Lloyd stresses over buying the keychain, overthinking the risks of his choices. Reading her father's mind, Anya feels a little guilty. Suddenly, Anya overhears the thoughts of hitman Sicklanchain Barnaby, who plans on taking the bounty for himself. As Barnaby walks through the promenade, he sees Yor and her group and decides to kill her first. Anya realizes that Yor and Barnaby are about to fight, and though she knows Yor can likely take care of herself, she fears that Yor will expose her identity to Lloyd and cause the family to break apart. Meanwhile, Lloyd decides to buy Anya the keychain as a memento of their trip, hoping to be a normal and good dad. However, he is shocked when Anya asks who cares and shouts at him to stay back. As Barnaby approaches Yor, Anya watches with apprehension. She knows that Lloyd will see the battle if he steps outside the shop, and even more so if he hears someone scream. Anya makes a wincing face, worried about the situation, but Lloyd cannot read her expression and is confused. He then makes assumptions about her mental state, flattering her as she reads his thoughts. He then remembers Sylvia's advice to treat the trip as part of Operation Strix, and realizes that she may have anticipated this. The souvenir shop employee approaches Lloyd and offers him souvenir apparel, but he refuses, focused on Anya. Anya speaks up and claims that Lloyd is dragging her down by not having fun, so he must dress up if he wants her to have fun. Persuaded by her words, Lloyd decides to transform himself inside and out to become the quintessential fun and upbeat father. He asks for every article of clothing the shop has and heads into the fitting room to change. Anya gets ready to help Yor, but realizes that Lloyd has already finished getting dressed. However, Lloyd mulls over reworking the outfit, and Anya is assured that he will be there for a while. Barnaby encounters Alka, Graham, Zeb, and Yor, and quickly swings his blade at them. Yor moves just as quickly, dodging the attack and shielding the others. Barnaby is surprised by her skill, and Yor feels the same, not sensing his bloodlust until the last second. As the assassins prepare to face off, Yor remarks that he is strong. After shielding Alka and her companions from Sickle and Chain Barnaby's assault, Yor instructs them to retreat. Yor examines Barnaby's weapon, recognizing it as a mid-range weapon, and decides to close the distance to subdue him. However, Barnaby's proficiency with the chain hinders her efforts. A crowd gathers around the fighters, and Yor spots Anya cheering her on. Yor is initially terrified but is relieved when Anya pretends not to recognize her and manages to convince the onlookers that the fight is a circus performance. As Yor persists in closing the gap, she becomes aware of her hesitation and overthinking. Barnaby, too, notices the crowd and decides to make them his next victims, but he abruptly freezes when he sees Yor charging at him with a menacing expression. The terrified Barnaby attempts to retaliate, but Yor skillfully evades his attacks and closes in. After pinning down his chains with her stiletto, Yor swiftly seizes them, binds Barnaby, and incapacitates him by striking his pressure points. Finally, she concludes her performance with a graceful bow. The crowd is awed by Yor's impressive display and disperses quickly as she takes Barnaby away. Meanwhile, Anya overhears Lloyd finally finishing with his costume and rushes back to the shop. Anya beams with pride, knowing she's helped Yor without Lloyd catching on, and savors the thrill of the adventure. Lloyd emerges from the dressing room, decked out in an eccentric mix of clothing and accessories, believing he's captured the essence of a fun and carefree dad. To his dismay, Anya is unimpressed and bluntly declares him lame. Meanwhile, Yor rejoins the others, and they continue their escape after dumping the unconscious Barnaby on a nearby bench. Back at Alka's old cabin, the assassin leader sneaks in after the staff has left. He takes a deep breath, sniffing the air to identify the perfumes used inside and deduce the number of people in Alka's group. He contacts the informant, and shares his prediction that the group will try to escape the next night. After the radio call, the informant overhears two bugged assassins badmouthing him and plotting to reclaim the money they paid him. Upon hearing this, the informant decides to take precautions. Meanwhile, Lloyd and a sleepy Anya make their way back to their room. Anya wanders off in the opposite direction, muttering Yor's name, and eventually falls asleep in the hallway after bumping her head. An irritated Lloyd picks her up, then thinks about how they have not heard from Yor, assuming that she is busy. Yor and Alka's group reaches their new hideout, where Yor assures them that the room is safe and has everything they need to lay low until the rendezvous. Graham bursts into tears, and Alka tries to comfort him, but her own fear is evident. Fersil Grey, witnessing the scene, dramatically exaggerates his fear of their attackers. Alka and Graham disapprove of Fersil's cowardice, while he takes satisfaction in calming them down. Suddenly, Alka confronts Fersil, whose real name is Zeb, asking him why he chose to join them instead of the gang's new leader. Zeb, caught off guard, insists that he hasn't forgotten his debt to the previous boss. He recalls how he would have been dead without the Gretchen family's black market during the post-war chaos. A flashback shows a young Alka secretly giving him bread, a memory Zeb cherishes, declaring it his reason for being with her. A blushing Zeb hastily adds that his dislike for Hapun stems from his ties to pro-war extremists, and promises to protect Alka from harm. However, Zeb's brave words are cut short by a startling knock on the door. Yor swings open the door to find Matthew McMahon, who reprimands her for forgetting their secret knock in the previous room. He instructs Yor to watch the door while the others rest up for the next day, while he patrols the floor to thin out their enemies. Zeb is astonished by the assassin's calm demeanor, remarking that despite the official end of the war over a decade ago, conflicts never truly cease. Matthew replies that as long as human nature remains unchanged, conflict will persist, and that he and Yor are soldiers fighting for their country's sake. Before leaving, he sternly warns Yor to stay alert and focus on the mission, or else they all face death. As the group settles in for the night, Yor's attention is drawn to the telephone across the room. She realizes that she hasn't contacted Lloyd and Anya, and her mind drifts to the thought of being with them. She reflects on her hesitation during the fight with Barnaby, fearing that her injuries would expose her true identity and jeopardize her family. Recalling Alka's question about whether the forgers are merely a cover for her, Yor reminds herself to prioritize her mission. As thoughts of Yuri, Lloyd, and Anya fill her mind, she questions her actions and her place in this dangerous world. As the day draws to a close, 20 hours remain until Alka's rendezvous. Early morning in Berlin, Frankie takes Bond out for a walk and vents his frustration about babysitting and pet-sitting for the forgers. However, after meeting a woman and her adorable puppy at the park, Frankie hatches a plan to make Bond his own dog. Back on Princess Lorelei, Lloyd heads to the deck to ponder his failure to understand Anya the previous night. He comes to terms with the fact that he is not the perfect spy he thought he was, recognizing that there are still things he doesn't understand. Despite being a spy, he acknowledges his fear of the unknown but resolves to overcome it. As the second day of the voyage begins, he sets his sights on understanding Anya. Elsewhere on the ship, Matthew informs Heyman and Vides that they will no longer be entertaining the Greys due to a spat they had the previous night. He assures the men that it's not their fault, and tells them to take the day off to enjoy themselves, to which they are both grateful. Lloyd and Anya walk around the ship together, where Lloyd tries to observe, analyze, and adapt to Anya's actions. Meanwhile, Anya concocts a plan to ditch Lloyd and assist her mother without his knowledge, fearing his reaction if he learns about Yor's violent encounters. Their first stop is a miniature golf course, where Lloyd swiftly demonstrates his exceptional skills, acing every hole with a single stroke. Anya, taken aback by his prowess, attempts her hand at the game but finds herself spending the better part of the day struggling to sink even a single ball. Throughout the day, Anya continues to devise distractions, dragging Lloyd from one activity to another, only to get completely engrossed in each one, much to Lloyd's amusement. As Anya's attention is diverted, Lloyd continues his silent observation, patiently piecing together the puzzle that is Anya's enigmatic behavior. As dinner time approaches, Anya's face contorts into a grimace as she eats, struggling to reconcile her enjoyment with her neglect of Yor. Meanwhile, Lloyd notices Anya's sudden change in mood and wonders if his efforts to bond with her have backfired, causing her to resent him. Fearing that Anya might be going through a rebellious phase, he gently inquires if she is alright. Anya, realizing that her behavior is causing Lloyd distress, reassures him that she is having fun but wishes Yor could be with them. Lloyd understands her feelings and suggests sending a message to Yor through the concierge to check her availability the next day. He then mentions the upcoming fireworks display and invites Anya to watch them, adding that they might spot Yor there. Anya's spirits instantly lift, and she eagerly agrees to join him. Meanwhile, Matthew, standing by a radio, receives a transmission and promptly calls Alka's room. Yor answers the phone and informs her companions that they have received the ready signal from the ship at the rendezvous point. Although the rendezvous is still 4 hours away, they decide to prepare in advance and change into their disguises. However, their plans are disrupted when the informant intercepts the transmission and relays it to the assassin leader. The leader, deducing that the message could be from Alka's allies, orders his team to prepare for an ambush. Under the cover of darkness, Yor, Alka, Graham, and Zeb make their move, ensuring that the coast is clear before departing. Like and comment if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more anime recaps, and tell me what anime recap you'd like to see next in the comments below.